Between 2016 and 2023, the National Association of Resident Doctors, NARD, reportedly downed their tools for about 128 days. Although the industrial action, according to them, was to press home their demands. Analysts are worried by this growing trend that seems to be a pattern. Recall in May, resident doctors embarked on a nationwide warning strike that lasted for 5 days, where consequently the association, after its 3-hour extraordinary National Executive Council meeting, said it would review federal government's commitment to resolving the issues in the next 2 weeks. Also in July, NARD issued a 2-week ultimatum to the government for the implementation of all its demands. Fast forward to today, and Nigerians woke up to yet another declaration of an indefinite strike by the National Association of Resident Doctors due to what they say is federal government's failure to meet its demands. Some of which include 2023 Medical Residency Training Fund, immediate release of the circular on 1-for-1 replacement, payment of skipping arrears, and upward review of our consolidated medical salary structure to the tune of 200% of the gross salary of doctors. Others are massive recruitment of clinical staff in hospitals, immediate infrastructural development in hospitals, and an allocation of at least 15% of budgetary provisions to health. 2 days ago, obviously worried by what this call could mean to Nigerians, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, pleaded with the resident doctors to shelve their plan for a nationwide strike. But obviously, all pleas fell on deaf ears. Subsequently, the Speaker also met with President Bola Tinubu Tuesday over the industrial action, pleading with the President to wade into the matter and address the issues raised by the resident doctors. Observers are worried by what they describe as a looming health crisis. But the question on the lips of many is, why now? Resident doctor strike is our focus on Nigeria Today. Welcome to the program. I am your carrier, Clinton. Joining me via Zoom to discuss the topic resident doctor strike is Dr. Emeka Innocent, National Association of Resident Doctors, NARD President. You're welcome to Nigeria Today.
Thank you very much for having me.
With me in the studio is Ahmed Abubakar Tanimu, an activist and also a human rights lawyer. Good to have you on the program.
Thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure having you, you know that.
Always a delight having you.
I'll start with you, Dr. Emeka. It's been a chain of demands from the National Association of Resident Doctors over the years, though it might seem justifiable. Is that the right time?
Well, I listened to your introduction. I want to put it on record that this association, the Association of Resident Doctors, we are usually hesitant declaring nationwide strike because we know the kind of work we do. We know what happens when we go on strike. But incidentally, it's unfortunate that the media and the Nigerian public only hears about us, about the news we are doing, only when that industrial district. Nigerians need to understand that before we ever get to any need, we would have been walking around the clock, going from ministries to ministry, advocating for resolution of whatever challenges we encounter. And it's only when our members see that there have not been any commitment, or maybe there is no speed on the part of government in resolving the main issue, that they will have no option than to give us the directive impact on strike. Now, if we analyze the demands that we are making one after the other with an open mind, trying to understand what the issues are, I can assure you that Nigerians will agree with us that what we are doing, we are handicapped and we don't have any option. Everybody in this country that have been following events in the health sector, we know that we have massive brain drain. Our doctors and nurses are leaving this country in droves. And it has led to a situation whereby our hospitals are massively depleted. We don't have doctors and nurses again. Nigerians come to the hospital, they spend hours there without seeing their doctors, because you have a situation whereby one doctor is doing the work of many. We have doctors in this country, even though we are overburdened by work, on top of that situation, they are being owed their salary. We can mention the names of the hospitals, and we're not talking about 1 month, 6 months, 4 months. How exactly are these people supposed to survive? And we have been on this for so long, and it doesn't appear as if, at least this is the failures that members are getting. The speed with which the agencies of government are addressing this is too slow. Our members are dying. We lost a member last week. It has become a weekly event that we get news of our members dying because of the work overload happening. And so part of our demand is that government should quickly replace doctors and nurses that have left the hospitals to meet up with the demands of work, so that our members will stop breaking down, they will stop dying. And incidentally, government has actually agreed since February that they will do this. But up to this moment, they have not released the circular. And so the chief medical directors cannot, leverage on the on this one-for-one policy that we've been talking about to replace those who are left the system to maintain services. Departments in the hospitals are shutting down because we don't have people there to man them. And so when people say they have pleaded with us and it fell on deaf ears, I begin to wonder whether they actually understand the demands we are making. These things it's an emergency. You talk about 2023 medical residency training fund for for this year, captured in the budget. Our members have gone for those trainings in question. They borrowed to go for them, and they are not able to pay. And this is something that government is supposed to do. It is an act of the parliament that has been signed into law that every year this has to happen. We have been on this one since January this year. We have been talking about improvement in our salary scale.
Okay, Dr. Emeka, I understand your concerns.
Was approved in 2014. And since then, you have had inflation, increase in exchange rate, increase in the fuel price. And so our members are saying, can you increase it to take us back to our purchasing power, the value of the salary as at 2015? Okay, because these are the things leading to brain drain. Doctors are living in their numbers, and we have found out that the most important cause, the most germane cause of this brain drain is for remuneration. And so if government wants to add, they have to address
Dr. Emeka, I'll come in here before you continue. I understand your concerns. You've ruled out a lot of issues that that's been kind of worried to resident doctors. But then again, considering that this administration is young and ministers are yet to be appointed, don't you think it is a little bit too much for them, or it's kind of too early?
So, in all the demands we've made, the most urgent demands of all of them, the policy on one-for-one replacement, you don't need a minister to release that circular. The memorandum of understanding we signed with the government 2 months ago, it is written clearly there. People have access to it, they can go and read it. It was written clearly and signed that circular will be released on or before 5th of June. You don't need the circular to read, because you see, this is very important, I repeat, because this is what will give the CM this opportunity to quickly replace unless they are saying that they don't agree with us, that doctors have left our hospitals, and that will be strange. What we are talking about is an emergency. Nigerians are already dying. You bring, you have influx of patients to the casualty, the department, where you are supposed to have a certain number of doctors to be able to take care of the wounded. You have only one doctor there. How is he going to cope? So can they quickly release that circular so that these CMDs can quickly replace those who are left to maintain services? The payment of 2023 medical residency training fund is captured in the budget already. It can be released even without a minister. Okay, so what happens, or what is supposed to happen is that when we make this demand, and government meets us and addresses, and tries to address the urgent ones amongst them, I'm sure our members will understand and now give more time for the other demands that we made to be addressed. And I also want to point out that this is not just about the federal government. Some state governments have completely abandoned the healthcare system in their states. And the brain drain we are talking about is both internal and external. You have doctors moving from state teaching hospitals to federal. You have some of them moving from there to outside the
Dr. Emeka, thank you very much. We'll get back to you in the course of the program. Now, Tanimu, you've heard quite a lot of things he said there. But again, isn't it worrisome that Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, even though still embarked on indefinite strike, even though the Speaker of the House, earlier pleaded, for them to give them, the House leadership, give them 2 weeks to, find a solution to the issues?
At this point, I want to start by completely identify with the Nigeria Association of Resident Doctors and Health Workers. The action they've taken is the language that the government really work to and understand.
But again, I'll ask you the same question. Is it not too early? Because they are yet to
if you recall
settle.
That,
if you ask me,
the government is yet to settle. But the first one of the major policy drive of the government is to remove subsidy. Subsidies are affecting every sector of the economy. People are finding it extremely difficult. If you could have state governments and other organs of government asking their staffs to work from home, asking people to skip some days off, even though some have been doing it before now. The medical doctors are human beings. The health workers are human beings. They go to the regular markets that me and you go to. The purchasing power, it affects them. The workload, you have a group of people that are overburdened. If you've been to, if you look at what is happening, a lot of people have stopped going to hospitals. They only go to hospitals when the self-medication has failed. Every average Nigerian, even those in Abuja and city centers, once they are sick, the first thing they do is to go to Google at times. They seek for the symptoms and they go and get self-medication, which is not good. What we are even talking, the focus is on those major situation whereby a medical doctor needs to attend to you. Issues of emergencies, accidents, issues of operations. And if you go to our hospitals, you'll be shocked at the number of people that are that a particular medical officer is supposed to attend to. Then you now want to say, if the consideration of the government that is too early, then it shouldn't have been too early to remove the means of livelihood. And mind you, the reason why they are not taking the pleas from the government very seriously is because over time, the government have not lived.
No, you mentioned means of livelihood. How did they do that? They didn't do that.
Their salaries is affected by the inflationary trend. Inflation has been consistently increasing since the last administration. All through, we are talking about more than 22% inflation. Your salary, no matter the amount you are taking, when you go to the market, you are paying. What you are paying for, you are getting half the value. Mike, you said the
but they didn't take away. They didn't take the means of livelihood away. Probably
it's affected negatively, and the impact is so tremendous that the volume of the quantum of work. One of the major demand is the one-for-one replacement. You don't expect, as I'm telling you, I can tell you for free. A lot of states, you have their workers not coming to work, even in the federal level. Some people devise other means, because look at the city centers today, it's dry. You see people, cars are scanty because people cannot afford it. Then you now have a medical doctor that has a car that needs to be in the city center as well to attend to his patient. He's paying fuel, he's purchasing, he's buying fuel at the no subsidy price, and his salary has not been increased, and you expect him to work in some cases 24 hours. Is already impacting negatively. Already the health sector is in a state of comatose. Then with all these challenges that all of us as citizens have bedeviled us, there's a need for a special intervention. If the government can be...
Is it really comatose?
It is. You've been to hospitals recently. A lot of people.
I don't think so.
Okay, why do we have instances of medical tourism? Our leaders, if they are sick.
I'll stop you here. So we'll take a break and let's listen to It's in Nigeria today. We're talking about the resident doctor strike. We'll pause here to listen to the comments of Nigerians on the issue. Don't go away.
All doctors that you are seeing, and they will tell you that they are on strike. They are on strike. But it's not good for Nigeria. It's not good for us as a citizen as well. This is the only hospital now that will say that, okay, we can rely on for now.
Because by now, no doctor at all. At this hour, no doctor. Okay. So it was early morning that doctors show up, few of them.
And it's very unfortunate because it's not easy. You are battling for life, and the person to help you is living. It's not easy. So we are praying that government should do something.
I would appreciate it if government can actually, help them so that they too can also partake in whatsoever thing that the other people are going to get, because we all know that it's not going to be easy for all of us to leave these poor people. How many private hospitals are available? How many people can afford, these hospitals?
They are demanding for payment of resident their training fees. They are also asking that the government should do something on having doctors to employment of more doctors, because they believe that a lot of them have JAPA, which the JAPA syndrome is still there. They believe they are overstretched. And the government should consider to fasting employment of doctors, go through the long process. That's what they're asking for. And they're also asking for skipping allowance, all the allowances that have been holding for long and other things like that.
Welcome back. It is still Nigeria today, and we're discussing the resident doctor strike. And my guests are still here with me. I have one via Zoom, one gentleman via Zoom, and one here in the studio. Now, I'll still on you, Tanimu. I know you've said quite a lot about what should have been done about the removal of fuel subsidy. Recently, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, talked about reviving the health sector. And of course, the removal of subsidy is affecting every sector, not just, just the resident doctors, But then, don't you think it's a step-by-step thing?
You see, if you look at the way and manner the subsidy was removed from the from the get-go, the first time at his inaugural speech. So if there's any increment and promises for review, it should equally be commensurate. As we are removing the subsidy, the palliatives and the increment should equally follow naturally. Already people are feeling the negative impact. And we are talking about protection of life. If you have people that have been overburdened, people that have been made promises to, and those promises are not kept, then things that are affecting their livelihood are being implemented. Then one wonders the sincerity and commitment of the government. Every sector is affected, but the health sector should be looked into. People cannot afford the private clinics and hospitals. So the government, in fact, at the moment, as I told you earlier, a lot of people, you go to government hospitals, you really know what I'm talking about. We are in the city center, we are not having it easy. Then you go to the rural areas, people are dying in droves. It's just that maybe people don't have a means of reporting and seeing in actual sense what is really happening.
No, we are seeing what is happening, but the present administration has promised that it will revive the health sector. Of course, just like we said, the ministers are here.
Promises.
Yeah, the
timely action.
I don't want to talk about Tanimu, but I think it's a step-by-step thing. Now, Dr. Emeka, as much as I would want to say, okay, I understand your concerns, but again, are you not worried about your patients and what is industrial action and how it will affect them?
So it's also because we are worried about our patients. We are the ones on ground seeing these patients. We are the ones that know that we are losing patients a lot these days because of this inadequate manpower. That is why we have been crying out since last year for government to quickly recruit doctors. Because you see, once you don't have enough number, that is expected, it's going to be leading to death, increase in morbidity and mortality. And that's why we've been crying about this. If you don't have enough hands to take care of patients, they will be dying from it. So do we continue to allow our patients that because of this inability of government to quickly recruit doctors to replace those that have left? Secondly, I told you that our members are dying. We have statistics. So some of them are breaking down across the country because of this work overload. And so are they, is government going to continue to sit by and watch these things happen? See, our members are simply saying that these things should be addressed so that they will be able to have enough motivation, to have enough, full complement of the medical team that is required for them to take care of their patients. And incidentally, I repeat, if you analyze the demands we are making, so many of the urgent ones among them can quickly be addressed. So there is no need, as far as we are concerned, this strike is actually needless. It's just that our members feel that we have been pushed to the wall. So we believe that these things can still be resolved in a matter of days. The ball is on the court of the government. I'm sure that they can address this thing. They can address the demands we've made. Like I said before, when an association makes such demands, the government should identify the quick wins amongst them, the ones that are very important and urgent that can quickly be addressed. And when they do that, of course, our members are patriotic. I'm sure they will understand with government and then give more time for the other long-term problems to be addressed. But when they refuse to do that, our members will say that, look, instead of continuing to work in this condition and be losing our lives, that they will rather withdraw services and try to escalate and raise alarm and appeal to government and even Nigerians to help us prevail on government to address these issues that we have identified. Like I said again, some of our members are being owed salary. And so how can someone you are owing 6 months salary? In fact, in some states, and I'm talking about both federal and states, in some states they are owing 28 months of salary to doctors. So, and you say they will continue to come to work to do what exactly? How would they fuel their cars? How would they eat? How would they take care of their domestic needs? These problems are very, are things that government should address for us to come back to work.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Emeka. Now, Tanimu, what kind of measures are we expected to see in the coming days, before the release of the, as we await the ministerial list?
I think this issue can be addressed. The minister is, the president is a father figure. He has always demonstrated capacity in terms of addressing pressing needs. There's need for him to immediately reach out. I learned the Secretary of the Federal Government, Senator George Akube, has made attempt, but because over time they've made such kind of attempt and nothing really came out of it. So that
but this is a new government.
So the approach should be different. They should be reaching out, and there should be some concrete steps. The demands are many. You start with one and move to the other. There is that demonstration. You don't expect the doctors to understand with the government preaching austerity measures, where on their own part we've seen certain funds being approved to the members of the National Assembly to ease their hardship. We keep wondering what type of hardship when we have workers that their salaries no longer can afford the basic necessity of life. When you have doctors that tend to protect our lives, they are being owed salaries, they have not been a salary increment, and the working condition. You go to hospitals, you discover the ACs are not working, the equipment, some of them are dilapidated, and the general working condition is not encouraging. What we expect is that we are expected to make sacrifice. The government wants us to make a huge sacrifice. The sacrifice will be all round. The government should lead from example. They should demonstrate that they are cutting wastages, income leakages, then people will tend to understand. But if the government approving huge amount of funds to National Assembly members,
but they've promised to take care of all this. You're mentioning the loopholes and the rest of them.
The timing is what is important.
What is it? Tanimu, well,
I'm totally with the medical workers.
I still believe that no distant time, all some of these issues will be addressed.
But now that the strike has already been called, is now the best time for the president, at least, to demonstrate that capacity by reaching out to them and directing the permanent secretaries to take immediate action.
Thank you very much. And that's it on Nigeria Today. But I must thank you, Dr. Emeka Innocent, President, National Association of Resident Doctors, for your time and contribution. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
And also, we appreciate you immensely, Ahmed Abubakar Tanimu, for activists and human rights lawyer. Thank you so much for your time and
contribution.
Thank you for
having me. Always a delight being here.
And viewer, thank you for always being part of this. I'm Eukaria Clinton. Good night.